I know it's been a long time since I made my last video, but this buck right here, this big, massive animal right here, deserved a video of his very own. Let me preface this by stating that last year was a very warm hunting season, and that made it very, very good for ticks. Not good for deer, not good for taxidermists who had to skin the deer. Now, not only were deer coming in with ticks all over them, some in particular, like this guy right here, came in with a lot more ticks than they really should have had. That led to me receiving some of his ticks on me. I had 3 end up under my watch band. I had 1 end up on the back of my neck. Not a lot of fun, not a lot of fun. Long story short, ticks on deer create tick bites. Tick bites create itchy spots that deer tend to rub, and they rub violently. What that does, that causes the hair to be rubbed off. This is not slippage. This is not the same thing as slippage. That's something different. That's bacterial caused. He had bites all over him, and he came back with many, 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 many bare spots. And you can actually see some of the bites that are on his skin still. This deer had some strikes against him from the start. He came in missing about 6 tines that I had to rebuild, plus the tip of 1 tine that was rebuilt. The rebuilt tines were done using actual castings from another deer that had similar size and shape antler tines. Silicone molds were made, castings were made in polyurethane resin, and they were hand colored and attached, and this rack is lovely now. It's full. What I want to concern myself with is the method I came up with to correct all of the bare spots on him. First I thought, well, I guess I can go ahead and snip some hairs off of his excess that came off of him from mounting and try and glue them down. That never really works right. Plus, the deer had 2 large areas. The areas were too large to try and do a gluing down of hair. I thought about the static fibers, but again, the areas were too large, and the hair on the areas were too long for static fibers that I have. They're good for the facial problems, but not on the body of the deer. Then I thought, well, how about paint? I can airbrush them. The problem is most of the brown airbrush colors leave behind a sheen, even if it says flat. Then you need to use flatteners over that, and it never really attains a really good look in the final product. Then I thought, well, I've been having a lot of luck with pan pastels. So I thought, let me go ahead and do a makeup job on him using pan pastels. Now this side of the deer, from up here all the way down to his bottom, was loaded with bare spots. And you will see, I'm going to show some photographs. They're going to show his hide laid out with all of the bare spots caused by tick bites, which were then enhanced by the deer rubbing to alleviate the burning and itching that he was receiving from the ticks. And then I have a photograph of him before I did anything on him, after he was mounted. And then I have a photo of this side finished. Now what this video is going to concern itself with is the other side, which has got all the bare spots still there. And hopefully this will give you, the viewer, a chance to watch how my mental system works and trying to correct something. This was terrible. But I think I've been able to come up with a method that when he's hanging on the wall, you're going to notice it's there. You're going to notice the bare areas are there, but they're not going to be as sharply defined as they are without any color at all. So with that, I'm going to go ahead. I want to zoom in on this side here, okay, and show you what we have in the way of the I guess you could say it's a max factor approach, where I used makeup on the deer to get him fixed up a little bit. Come along. Okay, what we've got here, let me get some light on this here. What happened here, okay, this side of the deer, right here, this was all bare spots, okay? They were all bare, all here, and they were large, okay? Like I say, I've applied some of the pastel. He needs more. He's going to get more applications. But to go from the dried bare skin look to this was short of miraculous, I would say. But what I'm going to concern myself with now is getting his other side completed, and I'm going to take you through that entire job. All right, here's a little handheld shot going around the deer to show how these bites caused the rubbing, which caused the hair to be rubbed off. Now here at the front, these are the worst. These are the worst right here. And you can see here and here and here are actually the bite holes that are still present. Well, these are going to be worked out using the pan pastels. Okay, this is a pan pastel. And the main color I'm going to be using here is burnt sienna extra dark. Okay? And the way I do this, I'm going to just simply apply it. I'll get in close in a minute. I'm going to take this sponge tip applicator, it's just a makeup applicator, pat it down into the pan pastels and start applying it to these areas where the hair is missing first. I shouldn't say missing so much as these are the areas where the top hairs are missing, okay? I'm going to get in close. And this will shade these. All right, with a new battery, we're going to continue on. I'm going to get this guy right here. We're just basically darkening everything in so that what is there is not as obvious. All right? This is all we can do sometimes. is try to disguise the boo-boos that are on the deer. A lot of these other light spots that you see, like here, these are areas where there may not be missing hair, but the roots of the hair were damaged and the hairs are sticking up. So you apply some pan pastels to the top of them, seal them with the Krylon fixative, workable fixative, and at least dull them down just a little bit so they don't reflect as much light. Now these larger areas down front, I'm going to use a larger applicator for the pan pastels. I know it looks dark, but once it's worked out, it's going to be just fine. The main thing is to get rid of that bald look. This is a neutral gray tint, and this is what I like to use on the white patches, the white throat patch on the deer. Okay, even little damage areas here can be filled in, I should say, by using pan pastels. And this will just even off the entire look of the white patch. Apply some fixative to that, and it's all better. And to lighten some of these darker areas, I go with what's called burnt sienna shade. This puts a reddish tint over the dark. And on top of that, we go back to using the burnt sienna extra dark. And it's just a matter of blending all these colors together. And what this does is gives us a little more even shade. Now a little trick is something called colorless blender. Colorless blender. And this does blend everything in place. Now, that's much better looking than a bare spot. The colorless blender is also used up here. Remember how dark this was? Well, this little blender is a wonderful way to even off and balance everything. And when you're done, give it a shot of the sealer, the workable fixative, which will seal all of the pan pastels in place. This is about as good as it's going to get. Considering what it looked like before this all started, I say this is a pretty fair save. I wish it was a better cape. I wish it didn't have tick bites. But I think overall, did a pretty decent job of fixing this big boy up. Well, there you have it. The completed max factor approach to repairing tick bites. As it says, makeup for tick bites. I hope this has been helpful. What's next on the menu for this big fella is to get him finished. Epoxy work around the eyes, restoring the color, and calling a client and having him come in and bring his big boy home. I just hope he's happy with it. Like I say, this was the best I could do without completely charging him another $350 for a replacement cape. And I think he'll appreciate that more than anything else. Plus, like I say, it's not that bad. So, until we meet again, keep your artistic juices flowing, keep being creative, and keep on keeping on. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.